welcome back to the Multiply Podcast. This is episode 5. We are so glad that you are joining us. I want to remind you to go ahead and like and subscribe to make sure that you get all the notifications on when we do new podcasts, and we have more coming up that will be, continuing to share the vision and what God is doing through Multiply. I just want to let everybody know that we're, as we do this, we want to always keep the vision of what our church is and what we're about at the front of our minds as we kind of go through this. And we call it the 3 I's. We want to be irresistible to those who are far from Jesus. We want to be indispensable to those who are following Jesus. And we want to be impactful to the world and the community around us with the love of Jesus. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through our Multiply campaign, and that's why we're here. And so I just want to introduce you to who I'm with. My name is John, by the way. I'm on the team here at First, and I got a couple of other guys who are on the team here at First as well. I'm here with our lead pastor, Brian Carter.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
And I'm here with our First North campus pastor, Bubba Sharpton.
Hello.
Yeah, so
nice to be here.
It's going to be a great time as we kind of talk about what God has been up to and what he continues to do. One of the things I've been blown away through this whole process is how God just continually goes before us.
Yeah.
Anytime we start to wonder or think about, hey, how's this going to work? What's going to happen? We shouldn't be surprised.
No.
But
No.
He just continually goes before us and makes it happen, and then we just kind of step into it, and we don't want any of the credit for that, obviously.
No.
He gets all the credit for what's going on. And so we want to give you an update of what God has been up to and kind of where we are now and where we're planning to go over the next couple of months as First North gets launched. Yeah. And so that's a big part of the Multiply campaign. But Bubba, why don't you kind of start walking us through one of the biggest things that we've had to do through this whole process is look for a place that we could meet, while the building was being planned and while the building was being built. And we'll all kind of jump in on this, but it has been a journey.
It's been a journey. Yes.
It took forever for us to find a place. But I kind of want to go backwards before we talk about what we have now and tell everybody a little bit about what that journey has kind of looked like. So kind of walk us through that, and then we'll jump in whenever we want to.
Yeah, so in the beginning, back in I don't even remember how long ago, but it was quite a long time ago. We started looking at different places. We've looked at South Bow High School.
Yeah.
That door was closed, and then we've looked in the Longville area, and then we before we knew where we were going to be, we ended up in the DeRidder area looking for places there, and we started out at the schools there, the high school. It didn't work out. We looked for met with a realtor up there, and
the thing on the schools is the policy doesn't really allow you to meet weekly or to meet often. It can't be continual meeting, and so that just didn't work out.
Yeah, we reached out to several people up there, and they connected us with potential places, and it just didn't work out. The fairgrounds. We looked at some commercial sites, and
the fairgrounds were nice too.
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all remember.
Nice.
The way I would say it, if there is an empty building in DeRidder, we probably looked at it or made a phone call about it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and like even the commercial spaces, a lot of times we couldn't get any traction on, meeting in the commercial spaces, or it would take so much of a build out that, the financially it just didn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. And so the commercial spaces weren't great. The fairgrounds, they had a place where we could do worship. And this was the story for a lot of the places that we looked at. It was like, okay, there's a place for us to worship, but there's no place for the kid men.
Right.
And so obviously our culture, our DNA is about family.
You can't have a First campus without kid men.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that was really difficult. I know we the one place that really would have worked that we looked at, and the people there were very sweet. It was Miss Faith at the War Memorial Civic Center.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember that place.
Yeah.
Brian and I walked in there. It was after a day of looking.
A frustrating
Day of looking, and everybody in the van.
So frustrating that we even went into the old First Baptist that I think has been condemned.
Yes.
We went like, I wonder if this could work. A condemned building.
Someone broke into it before us, but we used their break-in to get into it.
So that's how frustrating we were that day.
Admit to a crime.
Yeah.
We may have just admitted to a crime. We might have to cut that. But no, I'm just kidding. But, you know, we did do that. So after that frustrating day, I don't know if y'all remember this. Bubba, you were driving the van.
Yeah.
And we drove up to the Civic Center. And from the outside, it doesn't look like what it is.
No.
Right?
But it's a phenomenal
So
facility.
the only people that got out of the van was me and Brian.
Right.
Everyone else just
stayed on their
like,
phone.
I'm not even getting out again.
I don't want to do it.
And so we walked in there, and it was fantastic, and it would have really worked. But they have a long-standing policy that they don't open on Sundays.
And understandably
yeah,
so.
and so we honestly did everything we could to convince them otherwise. But it's their policy, and, you know,
Sure.
you got to respect that. And so that didn't work out either. And so then...
Yeah, then finally we had some folks reach out to us.
It was after the Vision Night.
Yeah, after the Vision Night, and asked us if we had thought about the Wooten Theater, and we had driven past that building every single time that we
driven past it. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know what it was.
We'd driven
either.
past it every time we went up
Yeah.
there looking,
Yeah.
and which was a lot. And so they went and looked at it and said, "Man, we think this might be an option." So we all as a staff went up there and looked, and man, it was just it's going to work. So the Lord provided that when we needed it, you know.
Yeah, and the Wooten is really great because it's going to give us a place to worship, but also a place for kid men.
Absolutely.
Which is really important to us. And it has the foyer where we can do our first impressions things and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to give a little shout out to Miss Maria.
Yeah.
She has been
Maria
great. And she has, you know, kind of helped us get everything booked. And we've been up there quite a bit since. And so, you know, we were able to book that place. And they have really worked well with us. And it's been really nice because you can tell we want to be there and they want us there.
Yeah, that's
so,
great. It's a partnership.
That's right.
It's what we were looking for.
Yeah. And so it works because it gives us a chance to kind of do everything that we need to do. And I think it's kind of awesome. You know, our land that we bought, and that's something that we talked about on a previous podcast, our land is a little bit outside of town, right? On the, you know, highway near Bundix Lake Road. It's a great location. But I've thought a lot about how when you're launching something, it's kind of cool to be right in the middle of DeRidder.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be able to get the first little fruits there being right in the middle of the city, and people are going to get to know who we are and what we're about.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, it's one of those things, God going before us.
Absolutely.
You know, we would have thought, you know, anywhere would have been fine, but he put us right in the heart of DeRidder.
I mean, right in the heart. When you say the heart, I mean, right in the heart. Again, and driving by that building, you know, you just look at it, it's like, oh, there's a building, but you don't think about it. You know, it's one of those that was just there. And
might have to pause the sermon when a train goes by, but
there you go.
It's going to
Hopefully not
work.
too many trains on Sunday, but
It's going to work.
It's going to be great. Those are stories to tell in the future.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is absolutely true. And so if you know anything about the Wooten, we probably should have brought on some DeRidder people to help us look a little bit sooner, because that's what changed everything. When we had the Vision Night, all the DeRidder people were like, well, what about the Wooten? And we're like, yeah, great idea. We didn't even know it existed.
Great idea. Yeah.
So that's been real good. And so, we'll have at the end of this podcast, we're going to give you an update on kind of what we're thinking schedule-wise going forward for the Wooten. But before we do that, you know, that's one side of the coin of what we've been working on. The other side of the coin they're kind of running at the same exact time is we are building a building. That is in the works. It's in the plans. And so, Brian, kind of give us a little bit of an update on that, and maybe Bubba and I can jump in and ask some questions or shed some light on some
that's
things.
still, and I think you said it, that's a great picture, John, that it's kind of two tracks that we're running at the same time, you know, trying to find a place to begin the campus and get started and build a solid church, you know, church campus. But at the same time, you know, knowing that we've got God's provided land, which means God's got something else for us.
That's right.
That we fully believe. And so what do you do with land? You build on it. And we knew we needed to do that. And so we're continuing to pursue that at the exact same time. So where that stands is it's, you know, architect is still working on it. We finally got things back from the engineering side of things. And so I think we're at a point now where we're starting. We're just now being able to start to maybe get some, send it out for bidding and bids and trying to get a real number of what it's actually going to cost. Because everything up until this point has been, well, we think it'll cost this much, or we think it might cost this much.
And you guys know how that is.
It's
in today's climate,
Especially now.
it's so hard to predict.
It's like throwing darts at a board that moves every 5 minutes. So that's where we are, is kind of get a real number of what it's actually going to cost to build this, and then we'll have something a goal that we can shoot for. And, so both of those tracks are still running at the same time. And so when it comes to Multiply, which is what we're talking about, again, it's 2 tracks running at the same time.
Yeah.
It's taking care of a current debt that we have on our current building in Moss Bluff, but then also continuing to pursue building and financing a building in DeRidder for our North Campus. And so both of those things are happening at the exact same time. And that's been the goal of Multiply the whole time, is that both of those things be accomplished together, not one before the other or this one before this one, but they both get accomplished together. And I think that's what's the beautiful thing about this is why it's one church. And we cannot get away from it. One church in multiple locations. This is not, Moss Bluff gets this and DeRidder. No. We gotta get rid of that mindset of like, this is one church. What happens financially with one impacts the other, and vice versa. And that will always be the case. One church, multiple locations. And so the financial side of things, again, begin to see it as one. Like, this is one. Like, it's not, this one is paying for this and this one's paying for this. We're all doing this together as we've agreed as a church. This is why we went through the whole process of explaining what it's going to be, what it's going to take. And everybody, I know everybody's excited about this. I've talked to hundreds of people who are just super on board with going multi-campus, seeing the need in Beauregard, seeing the need in other places in our community. And they're 1,000% on board. And really, as you said, I don't think you said it best, John, we are seeing God go before us, and we're simply just walking behind him and saying, God, what's next for us? And that's the best place to be.
And if you remember from the vision of our multiple campus strategy, right? It was that we believed that every community deserved a church like what God built here, right? Not that we built. God built this church. He built this community of people. Yeah, that's exactly and we believe that every community deserves a church like that. And so it's not just DeRidder. Yeah. We got plans for the future. And so for us to do that, we have to be, responsible about what we're doing financially. And I think, part of this, you talk about the blessings of the Lord. He went before us. He got us Wooten, and it has given us a chance for some time and space. Yeah. To be able to pay off some debt, because as we do that, our financial situation as an organization only gets better.
It only gets better.
And that just sets us up for success later down the road to 100%. Plan another campus if when that time comes.
And then and obviously we believe God for big things. We don't ever limit God, and so even we've talked about and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but we've talked about at the Bundix Lake location. That's just phase 1.
Right.
There's going to be a phase 2, because we believe that God is going to grow that church because, growth isn't about growth. Growth is about people. Yeah. And all those people matter. Yeah. And so I think that's an important thing for us to remember. And I can't wait.
Yeah. I can't either. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about Wooten Theater and this getting started and seeing what God does there. And I'm expecting him to do great things there. I mean, I've got thoughts and ideas of, okay, we need a baptismal wall that says Jesus is life. It's got 200 light bulbs in it that we're going to hopefully fill up within the first 12 to 18 months, just like we've done, hopefully over here as we see that thing come to completion. I fully expect that to be the case. Yeah. That's what I'm praying for. That's what I'm asking God for.
Well, as we think about what God's going to do, the last thing I want us to talk about today is kind of our plans for the next, few months. As we now have the Wooten and as we're continuing to do that sort of thing. And so, one of the things that we have going on, and you guys can jump in as I kind of run through these, is this Sunday night, we're doing a worship and prayer night. Yes. Where we are praying over that. Bubba, kind of go into a little bit about who that's for and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so as we've been preparing, we believe that it's going to be good for the core team and the launch team to get together and really focus on getting our hearts in the right place, preparing our hearts, preparing our minds, because this is going to be a challenging time. Sure. What we're doing.
It's a big task.
Not going to be easy, but it's all doable because the Lord has set us in that direction and given us that vision. So we've been meeting as a core team. This will be our first meeting as the core team and launch team, and we're going to spend that time focused on prayer together. And I'm expecting that to be a really special night for us to kind of just unify as one group of people pushing towards a common goal.
Yeah, I've been a part of some of the conversations. It's going to be an incredible night. Yep. It's going to be a really special night. for that, community of First North as kind of the first thing they do together.
Yeah.
The launch team and the core team to get together and do that. It's going to be just incredible.
Well, and I just want to say real quick, here's, I asked God, like, God, give me a direction on this of what this needs to be. And we hadn't talked about this, so let me just run for a second on this. Psalm 24 is what I'm going to open the night with, but it's something that I want us, for the entire process, moving from worship night all the way through Easter Sunday and on into the rest of the year. Here's sort of something that, for us to focus on. Psalms 24. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to him. For he laid the earth's foundation on the seas, and he built it on the ocean's depths. Who may climb the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? Only those whose hands and hearts are pure, who do not worship idols and never tell lies. They will receive the blessings and have a right relationship with God, their Savior. Such people may seek you and worship in your presence, O God of Jacob. And that's exactly what Sunday night is all about. It's like, let's get ourselves in a place, in a position where we can ascend the mountain of God and say, God, we're here on behalf of Beauregard Parish, DeRidder, and seeking your face, and we want to see you do something amazing.
Yeah, our heart is to be those people.
Yep.
For sure. And so we're going to do that. That's Sunday night. Beyond that, starting the first Sunday of March 3rd, we're going to do some run-through training days. That is those aren't our first services. Those are training days just for our launch team. We want to be very clear about that. And so we're not having church those days, but we are going to be up there at the Wooten on Sunday mornings doing run-throughs, all the setup, everything that kind of goes through that.
Getting familiar with what it's going to take to make it happen.
To make it happen, and all of that, and that's going to be happening all throughout March. All of that leads up to March 31st on Easter Sunday,
right?
Which is going to be one of the most exciting days I think of my life, because I've never been a part of anything like this. And for us to be together, Easter is always exciting and always good. But man, to be launching a campus,
it's amazing.
Gosh, it's gonna be great.
How amazing will that be? And so that'll be that morning at First North. We're gonna have services at 9:30 and 11 on that morning, and so that's just gonna be an incredible time. And then beyond that, we are gonna go to then a monthly worship service, and it'll be the last Sunday of every month. For a while as we build the campus and as God builds the campus, honestly, as he brings people forth and that sort of thing. And maybe y'all can go a little bit why we decided to start out monthly. Would one of y'all want to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, it's going to, when you're moving into where you get, in all honesty, a setup teardown phase, that's a lot of work. Nobody's afraid of work. We just don't want to make sure that we can do it responsibly and still do it well with a level of excellence that God has called us to as a church, and at the same time have people actually be excited to come on Sunday.
Yes, right.
Not people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got to get up and go set up chairs again.
Right.
So, so with that, as God continues to build that campus and continues to build it out as far as serve team and that along those lines, we'll see when He provides enough to be able to, where we feel comfortable going to a week-to-week thing without burning people out too quickly, so.
And that's something that we've talked about, as we see the Lord leading us. One of the things we've really been trying to do is listen to where the Lord is leading.
Yeah.
And just do what He says. And that's part of
And we've
that.
had to change our plans a couple times.
Because
He's led us
over
in
and
a
over.
different direction.
Yeah. And so, but He knows what's best anyway.
This thing looks nothing like we thought it would when we talked about it 18 months ago.
No.
But it looks better. It's like Joseph. It does, when he got to the second in charge and all his brothers bowed down to him, that's not what he thought that was going to look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was better than what he thought it was going to look like when he was given the original dream at 17 years old.
Yeah. And so we want to encourage all of you, first we want to say thank you to those of you who have jumped into Multiply, you have, started giving to that campaign. We want to say thank you. But for those of you who maybe haven't, maybe you haven't fully jumped in, haven't fully gone all in on this yet, we want to encourage you, make that a part of your life, because Brian mentioned this last Sunday, there's a blessing waiting for you on the other side of that obedience. And so we want to invite you to be a part of what God is doing there. We hope that this episode has answered maybe some of the questions you had or given you some updates. If you have any questions, we want you guys to know, we're open
Yeah.
to any questions you might have. You can email, you can call any one of us, and if we don't know the answer, we're going to find it out for you.
Yep.
And we're going to do that. But we want to invite those types of conversations with you if you do have some questions, or maybe anything that you want to say. Even telling us a story of God's blessing in your own life that is bringing you to a place like that. We want to hear those types of stories. And so we appreciate you joining us for the Multiply podcast. I appreciate you guys for being here too, to shed some light on what's going on. And we'll see you next time right back here again.